Hello everyone and welcome to a game a lot of you have requested. It's from the finals of the chess.com World Rapid Championship, or maybe just Rapid Championship. It's not the World Championship, but still some very incredibly strong players are playing there. And in the finals we have Fabiano Caruana and Hikaru Nakamura. Nakamura defeating David Paramian in the semifinals, and Caruana defeating Daniil Dubov in the semifinals also. So it's a brilliant game, and like Fabi says, there's a very certain bishop g5 line against the Berlin defense of the Rui Lopez that no one knows how to play against. As he says, he played it several times against Wesley So. He played it also in this tournament before facing Hikaru, and he always gets a nice game. And since the Berlin is known to be a very drawish line of the Rui Lopez, and a lot of strong grandmasters are even using it to force a very well-known draws, it's always refreshing to see, well, basically a miniature against the Berlin defense. So without further ado, let's check it out and see what this is all about. Caruana with the white pieces opens with e4. We have e5 by Hikaru, knight f3, knight to c6, and the bishop to b5. So the Rui Lopez is on the board. Knight to f6 going for the Berlin defense, and d3 now. We have bishop to c5, and now c3 is still the most popular move here, but Caruana goes for the exchange variation. Bishop captures, pawn captures, and now there are a lot of popular moves here. Knight b to d2 is popular, castles is popular, h3 is popular, queen to e2 is popular. The move bishop to g5 not so much, and you really know how you really have to know how to play against it, because it's very tricky. So the common replies here are bishop to e6. That's a very popular idea, and queen to d6 is a very popular idea, but Hikaru plays bishop back to d6, and it's also one of the ways of defending the e5 pawn. You know that when you play the Berlin, there are several ways you can defend it, especially if the queens come off the board. Then even knight to d7 is an idea, f6 is an idea, also bishop back to d6 is an idea, but it's not a new game. There exists a game with this exact same move order, knight b to d2, and now comes bishop to e6. Here there is a game from 2019 in Gibraltar Masters between Niels Grandelius and Akshat Chandra, where queen to e7 was played, and Niels was able to win this game with the white pieces. However, here Hikaru plays bishop to e6, as that's kind of a nice square for the bishop in the Berlin, and it is now, as of move 7 already, that we have a completely new game, which is not very often seen in the Berlin defense. So Fabi says this will simply not do, and he strikes in the center with the d4. He already played d3, so it's kind of wasting a tempo, but if it works, then it works. So black has to react to this, otherwise he loses the e5 pawn. So he plays h6, challenging the bishop. Now, of course, if you capture on f6, that's not going to be really all that impressive. Queen captures, the pawn is defended, you've allowed black to freely develop the queen. Black can even castle queen side, so everything is on the board for black now. So instead, bishop h4, now comes the bishop to g4, pinning the knight, so one of the attackers of the e5 pawn, and here Hikaru castles, Fabi castles after bishop to g4, and now Hikaru plays g5. So probably Hikaru will not be castling kingside, and he will try to go for some sort of a kingside attack. This is a rapid game, so it makes sense to attack. So bishop to g3, and now knight back to d7, adding another defender to the e5 pawn, and maybe having some ideas of advancing that f pawn, maybe even the h pawn in the future. So h3, asking Hikaru, what do you do with the bishop on g4? He trades it, bishop captures, we have queen captures, and now queen to e7. And now here Hikaru could be castling queenside, but first knight to c4 by Fabi, putting more pressure on that e5 square. So e captures on d4. You could also try and hold everything with f6, but it's a clunky move to throw in. Hikaru doesn't like it. He plays e captures on d4, and now knight captures on d6. We have c captures, and now rook a to d1. Going after the d4 pawn, and for the moment black is up a pawn, but it's really well, it's a double the d pawn, nothing really happy going on there for black. So knight to e5, attacking Fabi's queen, and here Fabi has two choices. He could go queen to f5, but also he could go for the very dangerous queen to a3. Queen to a3 is such a wonderful move because it prevents black from really doing anything. The d4 pawn is attacked, you can't castle queenside because the a7 pawn would fall, and the castling kingside also isn't very impressive. Castles kingside, the rook captures on d4, and all of your pawns are already advanced. The white will very easily attack this. So it's possible to go queen to a3. However, Fabi plays queen to f5, And now what do? Okay, the d4 pawn is attacked, so we still defend it. And much like in the queen a3 line, if c5 defending the d4 pawn, Fabi would undermine it with c3. So the center is being challenged, and now it's a difficult position for black because you can't go queen side, you can't go king side. The king is stuck in the middle of the board with out all that much to do. If you try knight to c6, which is kind of the strongest move recommended by the engine, then f4, and again, black is not enjoying many choices here, so it would be all white in this game. But instead, Hikaru played d captures on c3, and now he allows Fabi a beautiful combination to seal the deal. So feel free to pause the video and win the game for Fabi while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting the weakness of the d6 pawn. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is of course rook captures on d4. That's the good stuff. But you have to see this move and the next one in order to really solve this. Because, okay, now if queen captures, then we're going to play bishop captures. We pick up the rook, that's game. However, of course, Hikaru will not allow this. Hikaru plays knight to c4. And what do you play now? There's a double attack on the rook here, and also if you just move it back, yes, you won the d6 pawn, but we're gonna capture on b2, and then we're gonna have a beautiful pass pawn on b2. So here is the move that you guys had to find in order to really solve this after rook captures on d6, and that is queen captures on c5. And now there really isn't anything black can do. Everything is hanging here. The position is so open. What do you play? Well, of course, we have to capture the rook, but that will not help black. We have bishop captures on d6, queen to e6 now, and now queen to b5 with check, driving the black king into the open. King to d8, and now, before bringing the rook into the game, first bishop to e5, going after the rook on h8, but also just threatening queen captures on b7, queen captures rook on a8, the rook is still coming to d1, that's not a question. So here, rook to e8 by Hikaru, and now queen captures on b7. We have c2 by Hikaru, trying to throw in a move, or maybe just being a gentleman, as Fabio, of course, has mate in one. So maybe he missed it. Maybe he just wanted to allow Fabi to deliver mate on the board, as that is a gentlemanly thing to do. Whichever the case was, Fabi plays the queen to c7, and he delivers this beautiful checkmate. So there you have it, checkmate on the board in 25 moves against the Berlin defense. This is incredible stuff, and I know you guys hate it when I say that we are going to show a nice Berlin defense game, because you think, okay, I'm probably kidding, it's going to be a long, tedious game, but no. Here you have this bishop to g5 line. You've seen it after d captures on c6. You can play bishop to g5, and your opponent will not have an easy time defending this position, as you've seen here in this game. So go online, wherever you play bishop to g5 against the Berlin, and crush your opponents. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Fabiano, who wins the chess.com Rapid Championship, Fabiano being the second, of course. I would like to thank David Kimura, Martin Alidin, Diego Henriquez, Matt Backwith, and Gregory Boschko for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, such as this one and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.